You're welcome once again to my series on Anioma identity, history, culture, customs, and the clandestine attempt to lump the people unsolicited into the Southeast geopolitical zone. I am your own kinsman, Dr. Nwankwo Tony Nwezigwe, the Odogwu of Ibuzo clan. Today, I am going to look at a very important matter arising from the happenings around Delta State, with particular reference to the recent past, just few days situation where a group of miscreants, most of whom were rented from Ndigbo Southeast, to come and demonstrate in Asaba to the Delta State government over their so-called clandestine request for Anioma State and its inclusion to Southeast geopolitical zone. I also noticed somebody carrying Igbanke, a placard indicating or proposing that Igbanke should join Anioma State. After reviewing the developments that followed such show of shame, show of defeatism on the part of Senator Nwoko, whose portrait was also carried along by the demonstrators, I decided to take a look into the matter clinically, particularly with respect to Igbanke agitation, which has been a serious extraneous issue, yet not undecided, but unexplored by many people who look at the historical circumstances of Igbanke from either infantile view or subjective view founded on unfounded ethnic sentiment. So I've decided to title my present lecture on, or my present statement, or my present whatever term you want to call it, or my present speech, or whatever, or my present analysis. I've decided to entitle it Nwoko'S Anioma State. Let me just make it brief so that you know the Nwoko Anioma State died, buried in Igbanke, and the Asaba Ndigbo Mercenary protest, a Requiem. In other words, the so-called demonstration by a group of miscreants, rented miscreants, is more or less, or most importantly, a Requiem, a celebration, or rather, a mourning profession, a funeral rite for the death of Nwoko'S clandestine Anioma project and his clandestine plan to lump Anioma people without their consent into the present Southeast state. I want to state emphatically, first, that Nwoko is not only a disgrace unto himself, unto Anioma people, but unto himself. Nwoko is not the first senator to be produced by Anioma people. Right Honorable Chief Dennis Osadebe, the first premier of Midwest region, was a Senate president, was a Senate president of the First Republic. Senator Nosiki Igbo had also been a senator. We have also produced Justice Azinge as a senator. We have produced Chief Osakwe as a senator. We have produced Senator Okowa, former governor, as a senator, and we have produced Senator Nwoko'S, Peter Nwoko'S, as a senator. So Nwoko will not assume as if his own position, his own status as a senator representing Delta North Senatorial District as the beginning and end of the office of a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Now people say, ofu onye sibele ọha erisie, mana ọha sibele ofu onye ọma erisie. When an individual cooks for the multitude will consume the food. When the multitude cooks for an individual, the individual will not be able to consume it. Nwoko has been cooking for the multitude of Anioma people. And we have been gradually, sympathetically, cautiously consuming his food. By the time Anioma people turn around to cook for him as an individual, he will not be able to consume it. Nwoko is too infinitesimal politically to dictate for Anioma people the course of their political future in the present Delta State. We saw first, for instance, we saw the joint committee of Senate and Federal House of Representatives, they are called the Joint Committee on State Creation. When they start on last October 2025 at Lagos. They sat at Lagos and decided that a state should be created out of the present geopolitical zone. They didn't say the state should be created for the Southeast out of the Southeast geopolitical zone. We discovered that Nwoko has been hobnobbing with Southeast Legislative Caucus. He has been meeting with them, leaving his own South Legislative Caucus. And at every point, he is ridiculed without qualms. First is that Constitutional Committee decision. Second, Nwoko was there when the Southeast Caucus met, when it was evident that they should have one, they should have one state, or they should take a final decision on the state they will choose as a Southeast Caucus. Nwoko was there in the caucus. When Senator Enyina Abaribe clearly made it known that Anioma was not qualified to be considered for the state creation. He was there like a vulture, mercilessly beaten by heavy downpour. He could barely shake on his seat. And nothing more. So the issue is, what is there in the Southeast that is chasing Nwoko to ridiculously pour on unimaginable insults on the personality of Anioma people? As if we were begging to be included in the Southeast. What is Nwoko pursuing? In the same Southeast, we are not even talking, it's not even Anioma State. Within the same Southeast, there's even confusion among them over the state that, the state that should be selected from that lot, approved by the Senate Committee, Joint Senate Committee on Constitutional Amendment. There you have Adada State from Nsukka area insisting that it will be their turn. That in fact, Adada State is, to be very, very factual, Adada State is the oldest state, state agitator in the present Southeast. Nsukka people, to be fair, when we are talking of equity, justice, and fair play, Adada State is there. And you think Nsukka people will keep Adada State and support Anioma State to come to be included in the Southeast? The answer is no. Not only that, you also have Aba State. being championed by Senator Abaribe Enyina, Aba State. That's a vocal and active member of the National Assembly. And you think Ned Nwoko can compete with Abaribe in terms of star eloquence, intelligence, stature, political stature, and reach? The answer is no. He's pushing Aba State. You also have Njaba State. You have Orashi State. You have Etiti State. You have Anim State. A total of six state agitations in present Southeast. Senator Nwoko is fooling himself, not Anioma people, by fighting a blame battle for the inclusion of Anioma people into the Southeast. He went and collected some rented some demonstrators to tell the people to demonstrate to Delta State government that they want Anioma State. Is it the responsibility of Delta State government to give us Anioma State? I continue deceiving people that state creation will be at the prerogative of the president. Which president? Are we in a military regime where the military head of state will just want the draw lines and announce state creation? We are under a democratic dispensation where everything takes legislative process. I'm talking about presidential prerogative. Why? Do you think that Anioma will be the special prerogative of the president in creation without seeking the support of the people you are representing? You are attending Southeast Caucus and think you'll be represented, and think you'll be respected by your people, you'll be accepted by your people, and at the same time respected by those people you are hobnobbing with. Those people that see you as an alien, as a foreign figure, as a foreign dot among their political aspirations, because that is what they consider Anioma people. And speaking from both intellectual, practical, and moral experiences. So that is a problem. And it is time for each Anioma community, each Anioma town and village, to start checking out those people who are following Ned Nwoko in these communities. In fact, all those towns, people should now go and critically investigate their members who joined Nwoko in that kangaroo demonstration at Asaba, demanding for the creation of data, say, from the state government, and demanding for Igbanke to be included in Anioma. If the Igbanke people want to be included in Anioma land or in data, say, they know where to go. They have to carry their demonstration to Benin City, to the governor of Edo State. Delta State government lacks the capability to carve out a community from another state and be added into its own state. So it is insane for people to think that such demonstrations will achieve any result or make any effect on the ongoing exercise. Of course, I take it as exercise in futility over the creation of states, because this federal government that lacks the capacity to economically maintain the existing states and the citizens of Nigeria cannot risk additional responsibility for new states, because it means creating another level of high-grade expenditures. They can't. So they're just using it as political distraction. And Nwoko is one of their agents. And people should see that Nwoko has never been representing Anioma people, but representing his caliphate sponsors, who are his co-Muslims, who are causing all this problem among our people. Fulani herdsmen, Boko Haram, terrorism, and so on and so forth. They're all his kinsmen. Because there's no reported terrorism among Christians here in Nigeria or in the world over. Whenever there is terrorism, it must be Muslims. Whenever there is killing, United States of America, in Australia, in the Middle East, in Europe, Muslims. And that's where Nwoko belongs. So I want to state clearly, and let me make it clear that my position still stands. I do not support the creation of Anioma State as it stands today. And even if it creates per chance, which I know will not happen, I will never support it being included in the Southeast. As I've always stated, Nwoko has not been able to tell us, to tell Anioma people, one single economic benefit Anioma people will have for joining the Southeast. He has not told us one single political benefit Anioma people will get for joining the Southeast. He has not. He has not told us. The dog, as our people say, follows a fat-bellied man for one reason. Either the man vomits or the man excretes. So whichever it comes, the dog must eat. That's the reason. So tell us why we should be following the Southeast presently. I'm saying it from my own experience. I've been more active than any Southeast man of my contemporary age, my contemporary status in academics, in activism. I've been more active than any of them. I've defended the Igbo cause more than any living Southeast today, without a penny. I've risked my life more than any Southeast man today, both younger and older, without demanding a dime from them. So I stand in a better chance to tell my people why the idea of joining the Southeast cannot work. I want to be challenged by any of my contemporaries in the Southeast. If what I'm saying about my sacrifice for Ndigbo is a lie. But from at least the former governor of Edo State, now Senator Adams Oshiomhole, he knew me in Lagos when I was the president of Igbo People's Congress, defending Igbo interests, defending Igbo security against the threats of OPC, Odua People's Congress. I stopped the harassment of Ndigbo in Lagos State by OPC. I single-handedly. Because to do that, I had to become a member of OPC. No Igbo man paid a dime for me. No Igbo paid a dime to me for that. Instead, what I received there was sabotage. I remember when Ndigbo were being attacked in Apapa Wharf, and one person was killed, and no Igbo man, no agent, no Igbo man working in the Apapa Wharf could go. And the issue came up. And I took the bull by the horn, confronted Dr. Frederick Fashamu, and we agreed to stop it. I took it to Igbo leaders in Lagos State, executives of Igbo speaking community. And there we struck a deal and stopped OPC from harassing them. When the time to appreciate that effort came, they did not invite me. They went secretly to thank true appreciation to Frederick Fashion in his Century Hotel for a project I undertook, I initiated, and I consummated. When they went to Swabri, they did not inform me. And they were ashamed when Frederick Fashion asked them, "What of Tony?" They could not answer it. And there, Frederick Fashion told them to give him 30 minutes. I had a meeting. Let him finish with the people there. And called me and said, "Tony, will you be there in Century Hotel in next 30 minutes? I said, "I will." And I came, they saw me. That is the kind of people you're working with. Our brother, Major Chukwuma Kaduna Nzogu, discussed with them on how to put this Nigeria. Okay, they agreed. He carried out to his own in the northern Nigeria, in the north, perfectly well, to the admiration of everybody. to the admiration of those even who later turned to become his enemies. Be right there. The same our Southeast Ndigbo neighbors sat together and took a decision after the Kaduna Nwoko'S and did a different thing altogether against the original plan. An action that later brought Nigeria to where we are now. Because if they had taken the decision, if they had acted the way they discussed with Nwoko'S, Nigeria shouldn't have been in the present security mess, in the present political mess, in the present economic mess. But they sabotaged Nwoko'S for their selfish ends. And today, before they talk, now they will say, Nwoko'S, I'm coming back to tell the world how the betrayal of Major Kaduna Nwoko'S by Ndigbo Southeast caused the present political conflict, unending political conflict in Nigeria. So the position is that we don't have the idea of people from the Southeast to come and tell Anioma people their history cannot work. For any Southeasterner to tell us our history, I advise that to go to the Department of History and International Studies, University of Nigeria, the premier university in the Southeast, to go and study history. When the person finishes first degree, according to our policy in the department, we take you to your community. You learn the history of your people. As I did, and that made me a part expert in my own local history today. After that, you can now go for your master's to learn Anioma people. So it takes at least a master's degree holder in history from the Southeast to come and dictate with Anioma people about their history and whatever. They don't have the authority to do that. And for Christ's sake, I saw some of them making some queer statements. Those who are not Igbo, who say that they should leave Anioma. The boundary, as stated, even moves beyond the river. Anioma boundary. Anioma shares boundary with Idemili North, the whole Onitsha South, Onitsha North, and local government areas of Anambra State. The whole of Ugute, local government area, the whole of, let me say, half of Egbema, Ohaji Egbema, the Egbema side of Ohaji Egbema, all Anioma lands in the present Southeast. So you don't talk of coming here to tell people to move to Benin. At any rate, Igbo is a language. And as a historian, the Igbo language did not originate only from the Southeast. Igbo language originated from the present Kogi State, what we call the Niger Confluence area. That was where the Igbo language. Some just moved left of the Niger down to present Oka Udi zone, and some now moved through the right bank of the Niger to Ife. From there, they now shifted. So Anioma is originally, and yeah, those who people Anioma were Igbo, but Igbo from Ife, not Igbo from Oka Udi Enugu zone. No. And those who, the earliest people to migrate and settle in Anioma were those from Ife, Igbo people from Ife, and not from the East. Because at the time of their settlement, no Igbo from the Southeast was able to cross the river Niger. And that is why you see many autochthonous Anioma settlers claiming Benin, like Ikelike. Like Ezanya, like Okwe, like Ugoma, like let me say Umuopi in Akukubo. They all point to Benin. So they're nothing like reverse migration and so on. No. We have two flows of Igbo migration from Ife, present Ife, which is a cradle, one of the cradles of Igbo civilization, Ife in Yoruba land. So let anyone think that because some people are speaking Igbo in the present Anioma, because of it, they all belong to Southeast. It's a lie, factual lie, and unacceptable. Only obtainable among the half-educated, those who are half-illiterate historically. It's not about storytelling. So I want people to understand it. And when people come out to tell us Igbanke, what do they know about Igbanke? What do they know about Igbanke? A lot of them don't know the history of Igbanke. They don't know the history of Igbanke. Igbanke people caused what, and Igbanke people caused their problems. And let me state it clear that Igbanke cannot be part of Anioma state in future. And Igbanke people cannot join Eka South local government area. They cannot. And those people who may doubt me, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 reasons why Igbanke cannot be part of Anioma state in case it is created, and why Igbanke should remain in Edo state. 7 reasons. And I will state them. I will state them. After stating them, I will give you the reasons. I will state them clear. There is that, the historical aspect of it. By historical aspect of it, they cannot be part of Anioma state. First, you have, that's the historical aspect. Secondly, you are now talking about the circumstantial reason. You now have the multicultural, multi-religious, and multi-ethnic nature of Igbanke. Igbanke also breached cultural protocol that will make Anioma people not accept them. There's also the issue of equity and justice. And then we can now talk about the normal Benin outlook and so on and so forth, that made them more of Benin in outlook than even Eka people. Then we can now talk about insubordination and unjustifiable rebellion against the Oba of Benin, which Anioma people cannot support. Anioma people, we cannot support it, because a lot of Anioma communities still pay reverence to the Oba of Benin. So any person trying to join us in consequence of rebellion and insubordination to the Oba of Benin will not be accepted into our midst, because we've been living peacefully with Edo people. We have our customary respect for the Oba of Benin, whatever, and we don't want any other person to come and tell us how to relate with people who have been living peacefully together. We don't want outsiders to tell us that. So Igbanke people should go back and look at these issues I'm going to raise. If we look at the historical reason, number one historical factor, how did Igbanke find themselves in the present Edo state? Historical reason. The basic fact is that Igbanke have been part of the core Benin kingdom. Even though in the East Bank, situated in East Bank of Orion, wherever, he been there. Because Igbanke was aligned to even Oba of Benin against Abo. When Abo had problem, Abo Kingdom had problem with Oba of Harami in 1895. Oba of Harami sent Igbanke soldiers to attack Abo, and they attacked Abo, and they defeated Abo for the Oba of Benin. That's Igbanke. They defeated Abo. Of course, they are more popular than Abo, because there are 6 communities with independent, just because they were forced to answer one name. there were 6 independent communities there. So Igbanke had already defined himself as an opposition on the side of Benin against other Eka people led by Abo Kingdom. And we also remember that when the British took over the administration of Nigeria in 1900, the prince, the then crown prince, Prince Aigo Basimi, who later became Eweka II, the son of Oba Oforemi, was appointed the president of Abo Native Court. Was appointed the president of Abo Native Court. So he was there, Abo Native Court, and that's to show that at that time both Abo and much of what we have today as were part of the core Benin kingdom. And in fact, if you look at the name of the great-grandfather of the present day Abo, his name was Igbenoba, Den Igbenoba. That's Den Igbenoba II. And what is Igbenoba? It means I seek refuge under the Oba, or I seek Oba's refuge. So we should not come from somewhere, those who don't even know their own history are coming to tell us about our own history. Abo people, let me say, by 1906, Igbanke was included under that Abo native court administration, headed by Prince Aigo Basimi. Abo people revolted against the prince, the Edakin of Usele, because according to Abo people, whenever he comes to the meeting, he will sit on the throne of the Obi of Abo, while the Obi of Abo will sit by the side. And Abo people had to revolt. That was why they revolted against Aigo Basimi. That he cannot sit on the throne of their king, even as the president of the native court, Abo Native Court. So that was the problem they had with him. And then, in fact, in the crisis, he was, he got a fraction before the colonial government finally relocated him. Igbanke remained under Abo. But then after Prince Aigo Basimi was transferred from Abo, Igbanke people started protesting that they will not be under Abo native court system, with the Obi of Abo as their president. They were never ruled by Abo. They were never under Abo authority. They were never ruled by Abo authority. That was the situation. So they continued protesting. That after all, in 1895, they defeated Abo in the war. So why should they be subjected under Abo people? Igbanke people continued the protest until 1914, when a special native court, Igbanke Native Court, was created for them. And they were not separated from Abo. And when in 1934, by 1934, when divisions were being created out of provinces and so on and so forth, following the protest of Abo people, they were moved away from Benin and put under Asaba division, while Igbanke was now joined with Benin division. So the issue that who do you blame? Is it our own case? Igbanke decided to be in Benin. And that is the political situation. As anybody coming to tell us, put Igbanke, we're being suppressed, it's lie. It is an act of nonsense. It's an act of nonsense. Political nonsense, historical nonsense, cultural nonsense, whatever nonsense, let it be nonsense in totality. That is, we must understand that the Benin Kingdom, in its original form, and even the present, has been a multi-ethnic kingdom. Apart from a Ka presence there, you have the Ijo there, you have the Yoruba there, you have the Robo there, you have the Chekri there, you have this and there. Under Benin Kingdom, even though it revolves around the elite Benin monarchy, but the Benin Kingdom remains multi-ethnic in character, in origin, and in history. Because earlier we indicated how the third ES of Benin emerged from Onicholona. 3 years of Benin emerged from Onicholona. It could only happen under a multi-ethnic kingdom in which nearly all ethnic groups are were recognized as equals and treated with the same level of respect. We also discovered how the Obaseki family emerged from Nsukka Kingdom in Anocha South local government area and produced 3 years and a governor now. That is Benin King. So people who stayed there and start telling a cock and book story about common language and so on and so forth, they're doing it because some of them don't even know their own local history. They don't even know their local history. If they don't know, how can they now dictate for other people their own history, their own culture, and their own tradition? That is number one. Number two is that the fact that Igbanke is a multicultural, a multi-ethnic, and a multi-group origins. Igbanke is not made up of a Ka people alone. It's made up of people from Asia, people from Benin, Yoruba people, and Urobo people, Shekri people, because Igbanke is situated on what I could say on a tripod route or a tripod commercial route of the Benin, Asian, and the Ka people. So because of it served as a melting pot of these ethnic groups coming together, and it lies on that route of the other east wing of the south-north route from or let me say not even this east wing of the core Benin route, north-south route. That's where it's Igbanke is situated. So it is a country, because it's a country of people of different cultures. So it's not where people will now say because of dominance of Igbo language. And if you even go back into history, you find that earlier settlers, most of those who settled, most of the indigenous of Igbanke before colonial era, bore Edo names, not Igbo names. The emergence of Eka names came as a result of increased movement into the area by some Eka speaking groups and some Igbo speaking groups and other people coming for commercial purposes. So we cannot now say for that reason Igbanke should be part of Anioma State. No, it's not. Igbanke was not founded by people from the east. And if I thought it should have been founded by Eka people, but Igbo people that migrated from Ife to that area, not from the east. We're not talking there's nothing like reverse migration as propounded by Afibo, because Afibo, who was my lecturer and my mentor, did not work on the on the Igbo migration to the east or to the west. He did not work on that area. We have people who worked on that area. We have people, Yoruba people, who worked on Ife, origin of Ife, the cradle of Ife civilization, and the migration and other things, the nature of Yoruba society today, who have strong evidence. In fact, the first person to raise the issue was Johnson, Reverend James Johnson, in his let me say the very important compendium of Yoruba history. The history of the Yorubas, which was published posthumously by his brother. So let us not go into area. Igbo land is where everybody, if you just learn how to make a chair, if you a common chair, you now see yourself, not if you are trained as a carpenter, you already see yourself as a civil engineer. Even a mechanic sees himself as an better than a trained engineer. That's what you see in some of them. Everyone professing to be historian when they don't know the history of their people. That's number 3. We are talking about circumstantial reason why Igbanke cannot leave Edo State. Circumstantial reason why Igbanke cannot leave it. If Igbanke leaves Edo State, then Osano-Ogogo, which is in Delta State, which is Edo speaking, which is Benin speaking, Osano-Ogogo, the last Delta State town before you get Oga, then to Orion River. Osano-Ogogo is a Benin settlement in Ika South local government area. So if you are talking of Igbanke joining Anioma or Ika South local government area, which they may not like, because they will not like to subject themselves under the rule, under the authority of Obi of Abo, as I explained historically earlier. Okay, then if they do, then Osano-Ogogo people have the right to demand they be relocated to what? To Edo State. And between Osano-Ogogo and River Orion, you have Oga, which also is a caste speaking. Is Oga ready to join Anioma State or Delta State? That's another question. So it's not a question of saying put Igbanke. How many of the 6 Igbanke communities are really agitating for inclusion in Anioma State? So it's more miscreants who are being driven who are being sponsored by Nwoko'S and his IPOB touts clamoring. Is that not what we are seeing there? That is number 3. We are not talking about breach of protocol, traditional protocol. We are seeing a situation where some Southeast touts, IPOB touts, like one who calls himself 9 men and other, go in there to rain insults on the Oba of Benin and Edo people and other Edo people on behalf of Igbanke people. Talking about history and culture he does not know. And the time he was shouting that they want to kill him. Then who sent you? If Edo people want to kill you, the question is who sent you? On whose paycheck are you operating? You shout to the person who sent you to insult the Oba of Benin. No right thinking Anioma person will raise up and start insulting the Oba of Benin because we know what it stands for. We know. So Igbanke people employ some Southeast miscreants to insult Oba of Benin. And Anioma people will not support that. And Anioma people will not support a group who, for selfish reasons, employ outsiders to insult the Oba of Benin. So that was a breach of customary royal protocol on behalf of Igbanke people, and Anioma people will not accept it. Then we're not talking of, interestingly, we're not talking of the issue of equity, justice, and fair play. And here we're seeing Igbanke as a unit of the Eka-speaking groups in the present Edo State. If Igbanke should join Anioma State or Delta State, then we should also allow other Eka-speaking communities in Edo State to also join. Because if Igbanke joins tomorrow, others will also agitate. So there's no point allowing Igbanke to join while leaving others behind. So if they want to join, they should all join together. If they can't join, Igbanke should stay. And for Christ's sake, people talk Igbanke, ignoramuses from the Southeast, Ndigbo Southeast, think that Igbanke is the only Eka community in Edo State. And that's why they continue making endless noise, causing confusion, abusing, insulting people from their own ignorance. Let me state it clear that apart from the 6 Igbanke communities, yes, We have about, I've stated it earlier, but let me repeat it. That we have 12 Ika-speaking communities in the present Edo State. And most of them don't even bear Igbo name. They don't bear traditional Igbo names. They bear traditional Edo names. And that is the problem of analysis, historical analysis, based on the presumption of linguistic affiliation. That is anchored on common origin. That's one of the problems. For example, Ekpon. Ekpon is just the other town in Ishalo, in Esan. Ekpon speak Ika. They speak Ika. Even when you look at the Ekpon tradition of, they migrated from Ekpoma. Not from Abo, not from, they migrated from Ekpoma. And when you even look at the history of Ekpoma, you find that a section of Ekpoma who migrated from Benin were Igbo. Were Igbo speaking. Who did not migrate from where? Who did not migrate from the east? If you also look at the history of Okpe people in Roboland today, part of those who migrated from Benin to form the present Okpe kingdom were Igbo from Benin, not Igbo from the southeast. So that's again points out to the issue of the Igbo core center at the present 11. It's not something ordinary people who not even attempt the study of history at their primary or secondary school level coming here to dictate to the people. You have Inyelen. It's an Igbo community. It's an Igbo speaking community, speaking community, whichever one we want to refer to. In Edo State, you have Owanikeke. You have Owarizu Idu, which is just after Abudu. You have Igbogri. Which you also pass along the road if you are going to be. You have Ute Oheze. You have Ogada. You have Ogan. Well, that is just before the Orioma River, direct opposite of Abudu. It's written Ogan, but it's Ogan. You have Ute Obagie. Ute Obagie no Heze. You have Idumu. You have Idumu Abon, not Idumu Abon. Idumu Abon, you have Idumu Abon. You have Oba. Then let us even add Uronigbe, which is a core Benin settlement that pierced through into Eka and Ndokwa and Okwa and the local government areas, pierced through. Uronigbe is a core Benin settlement. They are bilingual, speaking partly Eka, partly Okwane, and partly Benin. So they're bilingual there. Then that is it. 12. These are in addition to the 6 traditional Igbanke communities. Namely, you have Ake Igbanke, you have Idumodin, you have Idumuiru, you have Ibonto, you have Oligie, you have Ota, you have Umolue, and they have another former, unpronounced community again outside the main body known as Obahu, which lies on the bank of Orioma River. These are Igbo speaking areas. So if you are talking of Igbanke, then what of these ones that are speaking Ika that are in the present Edo State? If you cannot bring them together with Igbanke, then they should stay there. Igbanke should lie where they stay. So we should not be disturbed by this cock and book story about Igbanke. Then we are talking about the 6th one. Dominant Benin outlook. If you look at the names, okay, let us even take it. Igbanke now, let's take it, has six communities. out of these communities, majority of their Onogie, their traditional rulers, bear Edo names, they bear Benin names. So the outlook of Igbanke is Edo culturally. Their celebrations, their Igwe festival is in accord with Benin type of Igwe festival. Their names, their language, their vocabularies, they are more Edo than Anioma. Also in the case of Abo. In the case of Abo. So it's not a case of somebody telling us Igbanke must join us and so on and so. But let us even look at it. When we are now looking at the final one, insubordination and unjustifiable rebellion against the Oba of Benin. So the present quest for Igbanke to leave Edo State and join Anioma is just as a result of recent insubordination orchestrated by their revolt against the Oba of Benin during Obaseki's regime. And let me make it clear for people to understand, so that it's not, we don't go into a battle of blame, a war of blame. If you are going to the battle to support your brother, you must know the reason. That battle must be justified. And people will say in our traditional parlance in Ibuzo, Ikpe ma nwanne emaya, uluane ha iduaha. When your kinsman is guilty, state be firm, state is guilty, his guilt. Maintain it in public. Tell him that he is guilty. But when it comes to paying or fine, you can help him to pay the fine. But when he's wrong, tell him, you are wrong, my kinsman. That's what we should tell Igbanke people. If it comes to paying fine, we will help them to pay fine. But when they go wrong, we tell them you are wrong. So they are wrong in their present agitation to join Anioma State and live Benin Kingdom with their forefathers bequeathed to them, because it was the result of an act of insubordination by their rulers. And how did they stand? Nwoko just entered into the problem created, and with his IPOB supporters, and tried to reap from the crisis created by some sections of Igbanke people. Some sections of Edo people, not only Igbanke people. Not only Igbanke people. Because what we should know is that within the Benin Kingdom system, there have been that seeming conflict between the Obaseki family and the Benin royal family because of the rule of their great-great-grandfather Ago against the Benin Kingdom during the interregnum. There have been that simmering conflict. And that was re-echoed by, that was reenacted by Governor Obaseki, by Godwin Obaseki when he became governor. Like his great-great-grandfather who tried to water down or diminish the influence of the Benin royal family or Benin Kingdom, even to the extent of usurping it. Governor Obaseki attempted to water down the authority of the Oba of Benin by granting independence to many traditional enemies, traditional local kings, enemies of different towns, telling them they will no longer be responsible to the Oba of Benin, but direct to the government, which is against the tradition. He maintained it under serious protest by the Oba of Benin until he left office and Governor Ogbebolo came in. That was the situation. And when Governor Ogbebolo assumed office, he rescinded that decision by Obaseki and returned the whole situation to status quo, bringing other rebellious enemies into the authority of the Benin traditional council in which the Oba is the chairman. It was in respect of that all Benin Traditional Council decided to suspend 67 traditional rulers in Benin Kingdom. 67. So it was not only Igbanke that was suspended. Out of 67 traditional rulers suspended by the Benin Traditional Council, 4 out of the 6 traditional rulers in Igbanke clan were suspended. Out of 67. So it was not people drumming ethnic sentiments that Igbanke people are being suppressed in Edo State, they are being suppressed as a result of that. They want to secede, they want to join them. They are acting out of insane foolishness and audacious ignorance. And they are not even ready to know it, because when you're acting on, as a consequence of insane foolishness and audacious ignorance, it means that even when you see the truth, you will not accept it. You become what in my own parlance, traditional parlance, Igbo parlance, we call Oborisi. Oborisi is a blind man who proves to the man who sees that he sees more than him. He sees better than him. That is Oborisi. As all those Southeast brothers, our Southeast kinsmen who are coming to tell us about Igbanke, about our Benin, are Oborisi. They are blind men who are trying to teach the right way, teach the man who sees the right way, or the right of way, let me put it that way. Now, out of the 67 Enige suspended by Benin Traditional Council, 4 were from Igbanke out of the 6. And let us take them. Number 1 is the Enogie of Ota Igbanke, Chief Dr. Julius Chukwunyem Isito. Number 2 was Enogie of Oligie Igbanke, Chief Lucky Osunde III. Number 3 is Enogie of Umoluo Igbanke, Chief Edobo Waifu. And number 4 is Enogie of Idumodin Igbanke, Chief B.O. Igiabo. These 4 were suspended along with 63 other Enige in Benin South Senatorial, in Edo South Senatorial District, which is synonymous to Benin Kingdom. Now let us look at it. Among those suspended, among the total of those suspended, if two of them were even the Oba's direct relatives. I mean, not just directly, his uncles, the Oba's, present Oba's uncles, appointed by his father. The Enege of Okodihi, Prince Osaretin Akinzua, was suspended. Akinzua, that's his uncle. And the Enogo of Siluku, Prince Ago Basimin Akinzua. Ago Basimin Akinzua. They were suspended. So how can some people now come and start telling us, cock and book story, that because 4 Enege of Igbanke were suspended by Benin Kingdom, it was now a case of Benin subjugation of a ethnic group in Edo State? That is unacceptable to Benin, to Anioma people, and we cannot support such blatant insubordination against the authority of the Oba of Benin. And let us even look at it. And this brings us to even the number 6. When we are talking about Benin outlook, we are going back to 6. Benin outlook of Igbanke people. Now, of the 4 Enege of Igbanke suspended, How many of them bear Igbo names? How many of them bear Igbo names? Only the Enige of Ota Igbanke, Chief Dr. Julius Chukwunyem Isito, that only bears a name, Chukwunyem Isito. So Isito, we might not know the origin of Isito. At least Chukwunyem is Eka. Is Eka, is Chukwuyen Eka, not call Igbo name. Chukwuyem Yen is Eka. Now, let's see number 2, the Onoge of Oligi Igbanke, Chief Lucky Osunde the third. Is Osunde Eka or Igbo name? That is Benin name. Onogie of Omolua Igbanke, what is his name? Chief Edobo Waifo. Is that Igbo or Eka? Then the third one, Onogo of Idumodin Igbanke, Chief B.O. Igiabo. Is that Igbo or Eka? Is that Igbo, Eka, or Benin? So we have come, as I stated earlier, Anioma people, we are so later that we don't want miscreants to come and decide to us how to run our affairs. As we have it in the Southeast, when somebody becomes a senator in the Southeast, or becomes a governor, or becomes even a minister, he becomes a god unto their people. Nwoko wants to recreate such among Anioma people. He's too small to do that. Anioma people who have achieved sublime fame in all walks of life, at the intellectual level, at the corporate level, at the bureaucratic level, at the military level, at the ambassadorial level, and so on and so forth. Maitani Guso produced the highest number of senior military officers throughout the Federation during the First Republic. All of them, their careers were perished by the act of deceit and do I say saboteur? Let me say betrayal by our Southeast Igbo people, our Southeast Igbo neighbors. Yes. My town at the time had 2 ambassadors of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We produced the pioneer permanent secretaries of Midwestern region. We produced the first Senate president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This was Osadebe. We produced the first premier of Midwest region. First and last premier of Midwest. We have produced many army generals. We pioneered even the study of Igbo history, Igbo language and culture. Emmanuel Nolu Eminanjo pioneered modern Igbo orthography with Ogbalu. He pioneered it. So, Anioma people, we have a sustainable sense of corporate management. We are talking about bearing Igbo name. Jim Ovia, the creator of Zenith Bank, is Ovia Igbo name, but he's from Abo. It's Ovia Igbo name. We've got Elumelu. We have got other people. We have some Obaibene from the prince of our kingdom. Is Obaibene Igbo name, and he's successful in his career as a prince mogul. So I don't want people to think that Anioma people are backward and then they don't have the capacity to decide for their future. People should not think that way. Because we are better than those who think they are better than us. So all those people who cross over and think that through the noise making, through raining of insults on social media, through clandestine kangaroo demonstrations, they can decide what course Anioma people will take in the matter of state creation. They are just sleepwalking. They are sleepwalking. And let me advise them. Anioma people are fearless. But you don't engage in a battle of blame. And that is the essence of my sustenance today. We don't fight for money for the sake of money. That is the magic of my survival today. I can be in want, but the God who sends me into the battle will always fend for me. Those who made genuine money in Anioma land, and in fact in the entire Edo Delta, because we share the same value. Not just about Edo, those who make genuine money don't make noise. It is on those whose money, whose riches are questionable, that disturb the peace of the people. That's where you have Nwoko. And this is why today, the only strong political ally Nwoko has in Igbo is Fred Ejidwe. Because they operate within the same immoral heartbeat. They operate together. And that is why they agree. And that is why today, Nwoko is running berserk. Because there's no other like mind that can go along with him. This is also the reason why it is impossible for Nwoko to even get the councillor representing his ward in Idumujuboko to be behind him. I'm not talking about his local government chairman. I'm not talking about the commissioner. I'm not talking about the member representing Anocha North local government area. None who will append their signature in support of his spurious demand for Anioma State, both for Anioma people and for the South. None. So for those following Nwoko'S, ask him, before coming to blame the Delta State government and bring miscreants from the Southeast to demonstrate for the creation of Anioma State, ask him what has happened to those, his co-legislators. He has a member, Honorable Ngozi from Asaba, a member in the Federal House of Representatives. So, how many times has he met with him to discuss the issue of Anioma before the signature, Anioma State? How many times? How many times has he even summoned the state legislator, the 9 state legislators of Delta State of Assembly, representing Anioma land? How many times has he even come in with them and discussed with them? He goes solo. Instead of meeting with them, he goes on going to the Southeast caucus, legislative caucus, to sell us. And we're saying no, and no, and no, and so it stands. So as far as I'm concerned, Anioma State has been piloted by Nwoko'S is dead. Igbanke demand to enter Anioma State is dead. And that quest for the creation of Anioma State for Southeast geopolitical zone is dead. And those who are angling from the Southeast, insulting us, thinking that through insults, thinking that they can intimidate Anioma people who are created naturally as warriors, think that they can intimidate them, insult them by whatever means. When the time comes, we decide where the tide will go. Thank you, and God bless you, everybody.